Ryan Neiman, Brian Wilson, Mary Catherine Ham, today's newsmakers, and you. The Morning Majority, 630. WMAL.
It is 7:07. Good morning. You're with the Morning Majority. Everybody's in the house today, and we're joined by our favorite Democrat on the line. Lanny Davis is going to be with us. Now, Lanny, we always love the conversations that you generate after you leave us. I mean, when you come on, people get riled up, and it takes us about a half an hour to get through all the calls that you generate.
Well, I want to keep you guys interested, and your readers are it's early in the morning. I want to wake them up, and I'm a little hoarse this morning, which I call my Republican virus.
Well, okay. Let's get down to the topic in Washington that's consuming all the oxygen. It does now appear that there is some momentum gathering behind this proposal being offered by the so-called Gang of Six. Some reporting this morning raising some concerns about it, but also at the same time, some 15 Senate Republicans signing on to that idea, which means that it has a momentum. Some talk of a short-term deal. The interesting thing about that, Lanny, is that your president was adamant that there would be no short-term debt ceiling deal. And now he said that indeed there could be one.
Well, as a bridge to get to this big deal, which is a big deal, it's Simpson Bowles. It's Simpson Bowles that I've been talking to you all about for a long time. Social Security reform, the third rail, Barack Obama, Tom Coburn, pretty conservative, and Bill Clinton, actually, talking about cutting corporate tax rates, eliminating loopholes, dealing with Social Security and Medicare. These are things that liberals never wanted to touch. And Barack Obama and Tom Coburn, I'm going to keep using those two names, because Coburn is one of the most conservative Republicans, Dr. No, they call him, against all spending. And he has violated the Grover Norquist dicta, which everybody seems to, and I like Grover, respect him, but he can be disagreed with. And Tom Coburn has stood up to this notion that you can't close loopholes and reduce corporate tax rates and do Social Security reform.
Just let me interrupt you there for a moment, because we had Grover on yesterday, and he did not knock the deal down. He was holding his fire.
Didn't endorse it either.
He didn't endorse it, but he was sort of keeping his powder dry.
Honestly, he's one of the best conservative thinkers, one of the nicest people, and couldn't be more wrong about revenues that need to be raised through higher taxes in the upper income brackets, back to the Bill Clinton years, where we did very well, closing loopholes and reducing corporate tax rates.
Hey, Lanny, let me ask you this: if you want to go back to the Clinton days before the Bush tax cuts, will you go back to the Clinton era spending?
Would I go back to what?
The Clinton era spending. The amount of money that we were spending on government in the 90s. If you want to go back to the Bush tax cuts, let's go back to the Clinton spending caps, caps at the time. Let's go back to the amount of money we were spending during the Clinton era.
Well, if you adjust for population, since people have been born since then, there are schools, there are roads, there are larger population needs of the elderly in particular. But yes, I think we should go back to the Clinton years, the level of gross net domestic product, adjusted for inflation and population.
No, I want to go back to the amount of money that we were actually spending in 1996.
That's sort of a dishonest way of saying we ought to cut.
Yeah.
Cut a lot, yeah.
We're in favor of that.
What I'm saying is that I would. I mean, listen, there are probably a lot of conservatives that wouldn't do this, but I would say go ahead. You want to go back to the tax rates under Bill Clinton, I'd be fine if we go back to the amount of money that we were spending under Bill Clinton.
Well, if you wanted to stop the Afghanistan war, which I think we should, and stop using credit cards to go to war, were you in favor during the Bush years of paying for the wars and not allowing a tax cut to occur while we used credit cards for two wars?
Yeah. Well, and listen, I don't want to go back and fight the Iraq War, but I will say
talk about it, Bill Clinton.
No. But what I'm saying is that if you go back to what the amount of money we were spending, I mean, you can make cuts otherwise. Listen, I believe you can cut the military. I've got no problem with that. I mean, I think you can find places places to cut the military. So, I mean, to me, they're on the table as well. I think you can still, if you want to raise the taxes to what it was when Bill Clinton was in office, and let's go back to the amount of money that we were spending.
Well, the issue with the Clinton tax rates in those glory days and the revenues coming in is that it was only 20.5% of GDP. This administration and the TARP that led up to it, that Bush was part of as well, because I know Lanny's going to note that, is up to something like we're going to move up to 25% of GDP. So you're never going to get those revenues in line unless you cut spending, even if you went to the Clinton levels.
Mary Catherine, I agree with you. We have to cut spending. We cannot use credit cards to pay for today's expenses. Our children, our grandchildren are paying for our bills because we won't pay for them ourselves. But you can't do it just on the spending side. You have to raise more money. And the notion, and I think Senator Coburn is not exactly a big spender. You've got to tell me why you disagree with Senator Coburn, who has signed on to this agreement that Simpson Bowles said a long time ago. You should reduce corporate tax rates, as Bill Clinton has said, to make us more competitive.
Right.
But you've got to ask people in the upper income brackets, I include myself, to pay more of their percentage of their income, and you have to cut spending drastically.
Well, I don't think every
$3 for every $1 he's raising. So he agrees with you, but it's got to be both.
Look, I don't think everything in the Gang of Six plan is bad. I actually think some of it is very good and would be moves forward, including cutting the rates like we talked about. I think the issue that a lot of conservatives have is that when you make these kind of deals, the promises of spending cuts never come to fruition. The promises of tax hikes do. So a lot of this program, a lot of this plan is everything is contingent upon everything. There's like 4 different steps. They're all contingent upon each other. They're all in the hands of Democrats on a Senate Finance Committee, and that makes me super nervous.
Well, fair enough. I think that's a very, very good point about credibility of Democrats who spend money and then don't cut the amount of money that they're going to actually have to spend. And I think both parties are guilty. And if you go back to the late 90s, you have to give Newt Gingrich and the Republicans credit and Bill Clinton for coming to the table to doing exactly what the proposal that Barack Obama and Tom Coburn and a number of Republicans, there were 23 Republican senators who agreed with this proposal.
Lanny, you say you still think that we need to, that the people who have money in their back pockets now, the wealthy, need to do more. Yet I've noted that in the Gang of Six proposal, no one seems to be endorsing that proposal. They seem to be saying, let's reduce the highest tax rates down from 35 to 29%. So I ask you again, because you seem to be alone in the world in this idea that we are paying too little taxes, have you yet written your check to the U.S. Treasury so you can give a little more?
I think the last time I was on, I said I write checks to the Humane Society, and I want everybody to do that. And I'm willing to go back.
The answer then is no. You haven't sent your check to the Treasury, right?
Not yet, but I'm about to because my next quarterly tax.
And maybe we'll get some relief before the next one comes due.
No, again, I hate to just keep saying this to you guys because I get you in trouble. You're making a fair point that the current proposal does not call for increasing tax rates. That's the compromise. They're not agreeing with me on that.
We got to go, Lanny, but thank you.
We are talking about closing loopholes, and good luck. I hope I provoked your audience.
Well, I'm sure you have. I'm sure they'll be stacked up like planes over LaGuardia, ready to respond to what you had to say. Hey, it's 8.
I won't be hoarse, so sorry about my voice.
That's